Welcome back to Hidden Path Human Design. I'm Donald, and today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the emotional home. So, why does this cause so much tension in most homes, including my own? So, just an overview of what I mean by an emotional home. Families are often operating in emotional autopilot without even realizing it. Emotional autopilot is like people are having emotions, but nobody's really paying any attention to the emotions. And they're subtly creating conditions within the home that can lead to a bit of chaos. And some of these symptoms are bickering and stress and are just seen as a part of, oh, that's just a part of my normal home. So human design offers a new way of looking at the emotional dynamics within your household. And today I just wanted to explore those hidden forces that are shaping the emotional landscape in everybody's home. The constant bickering, arguments seem to come out of nowhere, and they're mainly over small things like this person didn't do the dishes, that person left a coat on the floor. Just all these things happen within the home. And there's bickering over who did what and who's doing what and when. There's all this fighting in the home. And certain family members can start to feel unheard or misunderstood. And the bickering just becomes like a default mode of communication between family members. And it creates this distance, this emotional distance and tension over time. Does your family bicker? Mine sure does. Because as soon as you ask, whose turn is it to do this or that? It's this person's turn. And then it just starts up the whole cycle at my house, anyways. I'm sure this is like everybody's family. There's always bickering between the children, between you and your spouse. And yeah, it's just a thing that happens. And there's also anxiety. Family members feel pressured to respond or act quickly. There's this emotion in the background to it. The children and adults internalize the emotional unrest, and anxiety shows up as hesitation, worry, or a kind of like a panicked feeling. Making decisions without clarity just fuels this emotional insecurity within the household. So that's why family members feel pressured to respond or act quickly. So there's also this unspoken tension. There could be this feeling in your home of everybody's walking on eggshells, like because if somebody brings something up, it's going to lead to anger or fighting or bickering. So there could be some people walking on eggshells or holding back their emotions to avoid setting someone else off. And the energy can feel heavy even when it's silent, just this undertone of tension in the background. And the emotional buildup leads to sudden outbursts or even withdrawal from social situations. So, certain family members may not want to be seen in public with other family members because that person's going to say something weird or make us look bad. So there's this background tension of those things happening. There can be this avoidance or withdrawal as well, or even sudden emotional outbursts, people getting angry out of the blue. The resistance in the home increases. And when there's resistance, it feels like nothing's easy to do. So family members are pushing back, either in defiance or being silent about things. Kids are dragging their feet, ignoring instructions, or shutting down. Adults may procrastinate or disengage with life. A big thing that happens in society today is there's a lot of people passing off their cell phones to their kids or even diving into their cell phones to avoid what's going on. Like they're just looking for this release or this break from life. And this resistance is often a sign of emotional overwhelm. It's not really from a place of laziness. When you see another parent maybe giving their child a cell phone to play on, It's not from a place of they're just a lazy parent. They're actually just probably emotionally overwhelmed with the whole situation and they're looking for that break, that time to process. And who wouldn't enjoy a little bit less resistance in their home? I certainly would. Here's the real problem. The bickering, anxiety, tension, and resistance are all surface issues. These are not the actual root cause or the foundation cracking in the household. The underlying emotional confusion creates this repeating cycle in the home. And it's mainly due to the home lacking the tools to support emotional timing. When I talk about emotions, there's a timing to them, there's a processing time. How do people feel about certain things? The expectation for quick decisions are keeping everybody trapped in this cycle of emotional strain. So, this is where the root of the problem is coming from. I hope this is clear. So, it's the timing of people not being allowed to feel their emotions through the whole cycle, and other people putting pressure on them to make snappy decisions or quick decisions. And this is causing the emotional strain. We actually need in the home is the sense of emotional awareness. Some family members can be more emotional than others, but how can we tell this in our household? Emotions require time to process, and it becomes a clarity over time game. I can get emotional, everybody gets emotional in their home, but to process those emotions requires time or space. And this is the difference between living in a reactive home versus a responsive one. So, in a reactive home, people are just reacting to their emotions wherever they are at the time they're being asked to do something. So, then there's this pushback, tension, and all this stress going on because they haven't processed what they actually want to do. So, regardless of who is more emotional in the home, this is really affecting everybody within a household. How can human design help? Human design actually is able to identify who is here to represent emotions in the home and who is not. People who are here to represent the emotions in the home are emotionally defined and they have an emotional wave. And this is not something that they're in control of, it's just a motor wave that happens. And it goes from hope to pain. And they need to ride out the entire wave to come to any sort of clarity in their life. You can think of this as like clarity through emotional digestion. So it's feeling into situations, feeling into places, feeling into people, and digesting like, how does that feel in my body? And the more time you can spend with something, or be given the grace period of just allowing yourself to have this time to process your emotions on whatever the decision is, you're going to gain more clarity the more time you can give it. Emotional beings often feel pressured to decide quickly. We do this to ourselves at work and in home. So, if you have maybe a stressful job that you're going to where you're being asked to react to situations constantly and you're trapped in survival mode, when you come home from work, you want a place where you can decompress and relax. But if the same thing is happening at your home, there's no escape from this. So honoring that emotional wave leads you to more correct decisions. And when I say correct, they're just correct for you. Saying no to a lot of things, to buy yourself time or telling people you have to think about things can be very helpful. And the more correct decisions you make benefit everyone, not only the people who are here to represent the emotions in the household, those that are emotionally defined. As the saying goes, haste makes waste. For emotionally defined beings, here's a couple of points I just want to make about them. When they make decisions too quickly, it leads to regrets and conflicts. And nobody wants to feel like that in any particular situation. This emotional pressure turns into bickering, anxiety, tension, and resistance over time. Not understanding this can create these repetitive cycles of stress within a home. Some people feel emotionally unsafe and misunderstood when they're not given time to process. So, is this how we want to feel or have other family members feel in our home? It's just something to consider. I'm just bringing up a new awareness that some people are emotionally defined according to the human design system and some people are not. So, it's something to be aware of. And from that awareness, we can move forward into a more peaceful household. But what about those who are emotionally undefined? These are considered our empaths. So, emotionally undefined people amplify the feelings or emotions of others, and they can often confuse their own emotions with the emotions of others. They get blamed for being dramatic or overreactive to certain situations. And understanding this amplification creates a more compassionate home for everyone. So, in my own home, myself, my wife, and my oldest daughter are all emotionally defined. And my youngest daughter is not emotionally defined. So, how this can play out is if we show any sort of emotion, which we're here to represent, my youngest daughter can amplify that in the household. And this can lead to miscommunication, distance, and avoidance of certain things. So it's important to be aware of who's emotional in your household, who's emotionally defined, and who is not, so that you can have a better understanding of these, and then there's acceptance and compassion that can be brought into your own home. So some of the key points to remember from this presentation are emotions are just a part of being human. They're not really a problem to fix. They're something to work with and learn from. To lessen the bickering, anxiety, tension, and resistance in your home, it's important to consider the emotions of others. So even if you don't use the human design system, you only take one thing away from my presentation. Some people are here to represent emotions, and other people are here to amplify them or bring them to the surface to really get into what's the meaning behind the emotions. And if you wanted to use human design, it'll actually tell you who's emotionally defined and who's not in your household. And then you can actually give people who are emotionally defined in the household the time to process or make decisions on things. Like, these are not people to be rushed, because when you rush them, they're going to make the wrong decision for them. And then there's going to be resistance in your home. And you can also tell the people who are not emotionally defined that what they feel may not always be their own emotions or feelings. These are our empathetic people. And if you look at humanity as a whole, this is about a 50-50 split. So half the population is emotionally defined, and the other half of the population is emotionally undefined. So it's just something to think about in society, at work, at home, wherever you're going. Somebody might be here on their emotional wave between hope and pain, and then there might be another person that's here amplifying that hope and pain wave. The person who's amplifying it and displaying that to everybody is not necessarily overly emotional. It might not even be their own. So let's have a little bit more compassion for everybody, and we can move forward with this information. If you're curious about your own design, figuring out if you yourself are emotional or if you're designed to amplify the emotions of others and sample them, you can request a free basic human design report using the link in the video description below. I also offer foundational human design readings, which cover your type, strategy, authority, and other key aspects of your design. Details can be found about all this information in the video description below. And if you like this video, remember to share it around and subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any comments, please just drop them down below. Maybe you already know if you're emotionally defined or not. Tell me how that plays out in your life. How do you feel that with your family members? Are they respecting you? Are they giving you time if you're emotionally defined? I want to hear it all. Anyways, thank you very much for listening and enjoy your day.